I'd like to welcome you back to the Crossbanner Heritage Institute broadcast on YouTube. I'm Derek Henson, and this is my broadcast. Today, we want to talk to you about the new barbarism in America, in the United States of America. The barbarism of not only murdering unborn children, literally nearly 1 million per year, unborn children in the United States alone, every year since 1972-73 legally in this country. As if that wasn't bad enough, barbaric enough, we have recently found out in this country, because of secretly taped videos, that Planned Parenthood, one of the leading abortion providers across the United States of America, is not only providing the abortions, murdering unborn children, but they are selling organs, bodily organs. Now, of course, these folks and liberals in general, they like to tell us, they like to tell you, young people, they like to tell you that these are fetuses, that these are not human beings, that these are not babies, that they are not infants, as they're killing them on a daily basis. But now we find out through these videos that they take great care and much precaution in the way, the method that they kill the unborn children, infants, in order to preserve their organs so that they can sell the organs. Now, I wanted to share with you some things today, and yes, I'm going to have to read, but I pray that you'll bear with me this afternoon, whatever time of day you're reading this, watching this. I pray that you'll bear with me, because there's some things that I want to share with you today. First of all, recently, Patrick Buchanan. Now, Patrick Buchanan is my favorite Catholic. I'm not a Catholic. I've been a Baptist about all my life, and I accepted Christ as my Savior in December of 1989. I'm still a Baptist today. But Patrick Buchanan is my favorite Catholic. And he recently, in July of 2015, this year, he wrote an article called The New Dark Age. The New Dark Age. And this is what he starts off. He says, if God does not exist, this is a quote, if God does not exist, then everything is permissible. If God, my friend, does not exist today, then everything is permissible. This was from a book by Ivan Karamazov. Ivan Karamazov. And Patrick Buchanan said this quote, this insight came to mind as he was watching the first of those videos with Deborah Nucatola of Planned Parenthood, as she tasted wine and ate bites of salad at lunch, discussing how she harvests the organs of aborted infant babies for sale to select customers. Now, this is a direct quote from Nucatola in the first video. You can look them up on YouTube. Yesterday was the first time people wanted lungs, said Nucatola. Some people want lower extremities too, which that's simple. I'd say a lot of people want liver. And we've been very good at getting heart, lung, liver, because we know that I'm not going to crush that part. I'm not going to crush the torso of the infant. I'm going to crush the skull. I'm going to crush the lower part. But I'm going to be careful. I'm going to take precautions, because I'm going to see if I can get all the organs intact. Now, she is describing how an unborn baby should be killed and cut up to preserve its most valuable organs for sale by its butchers. Now, George Weah writes, having a procedure, that's how they try to describe abortion, having a procedure that stops the beating of a human heart, it can be a difficult decision for the woman involved. They've become pregnant, perhaps out of wedlock. They don't want the child. They're not ready economically, financially for the child. They're not ready maturity-wise, psychologically for the child. And perhaps, yes, there are 2% of all abortions are for, 1% are for incest, and up to 2% are for rape. 97% of abortions are about birth control. 2% are about rape, and 1% is about incest. Now, those are the statistics. Look them up. Having a procedure stopping the beating of a human heart, Will writes, can indeed be a difficult decision for the woman involved. But it's never difficult for Planned Parenthood. It's never difficult for the Planned Parenthood's abortionists administering the procedure. The procedure may be difficult for the woman to go through with in her own mind, in her own heart, in her own soul. But it's never difficult for the Planned Parenthood abortionists. The abortion industry's premise is, at no point, not from conception until birth, at no point is the gestation of a human infant a living being that has a trace of personhood that must be respected. From conception to birth, Planned Parenthood abortionists will never admit that that is a living human being, a person that must be respected. Not at one moment during that 9-month period of time, from conception to birth. Never. Never does that infant, never does that, what they will call a fetus, never does that infant have a moral standing superior to a tumor inside of that woman's stomach, or a hamburger, literally, inside of that woman's stomach. That's what Planned Parenthood would say, my friends. Planned Parenthood would say that there is never an instant from conception to birth when that baby, that infant, has any rights of personhood that must be respected. No more moral standing than a cancerous tumor that can be removed, or a hamburger that's been eaten by that woman, by that potential mother. Now, Charles Krauthammer writes, the second video showing another official sporting the same type of cavalier tone, casual, and even jocular, while haggling over the price of an embryonic liver. And now this woman, this is what she says. If it's still low, the price, then we can bump it up. I want a Lamborghini, she says, as she's being videotaped. Abortion critics have long warned that the problem is not only the obvious, what abortion does to the fetus, and I would say to the infant, to the baby, to the unborn child. It's not about just the obvious, what the abortion does to the child. But also, Krauthammer writes, what does it do to us? What does it do to you and to I as a society? What does it do to us? In the end, Krauthammer writes, it's the same type of desensitization that has already occurred in the Netherlands, with another mass exercise in life termination, and that is assisted suicide. And what began as a way to help patients that are going through terminal illness has spread in the Netherlands and Holland to assisted suicide across age groups and across different varieties of healthiness, far beyond those that would just be terminally ill. When we desensitize people to human life, you see, it's not only the baby that's being murdered, it's our souls, our hearts, our minds, as individuals, as human beings, particularly as women, the women who undergo these procedures, we are being desensitized. We are being told that these folks are not babies, they're not infants, they're not living children. As ultrasound altered feelings about abortion, showing the image, the movement, the vibrant life of that child while it's in utero, so, Krauthammer writes, I too suspect that these Planned Parenthood revelations will throw the doors open to the back room of the clinic where that baby, that child is being destroyed. It's an ugly scene. And it's made uglier by the sale of the parts, the body parts of these children. The nightmare for abortion advocates is a spreading consciousness of how exactly a healthy child, a healthy infant, a healthy baby is turned into a mass of marketable organs that can be sold. They kill the baby, they murder the baby, they dissect the baby in such a way where that they can sell the organs of that child. And then Will ends up with this. When life begins is a scientific, not a philosophic, or even, as I would say, and preachers everywhere would say, a theological question. Will says when life begins, it's a scientific question, not just a philosophic, not a theological question. Life begins, Will writes, and the true doctor, the true scientist can tell you, life begins when the chromosomes of the sperm from the male fuse with the ovum, the egg of a female. When those two fuse, that is conception. And that is the formation of a distinctive DNA complex that controls the new organism's growth. And it becomes a living being. This growth process continues unless a natural accident interrupts it, or it is ended by the sort of deliberate violence that Planned Parenthood sells. This is what King David writes in the book of Psalms, friend. Psalm number 139. David writes, For you, Lord, you have possessed my reins. The reins of a horse. The reins of a horse controls the horse. That's what Will just said about this fusing together. Lord, you have possessed my reins. You have covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous, Lord, are your works. And my soul knows right well that my substance was not hidden from you when I was made in secret and curiously wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. The lowest parts of my mother's womb. Your eyes did see my substance, yet being imperfect. And in your book all my members were written. The very members that Planned Parenthood are trying to sell today on the black market. Before we leave today, I want you to write to me today at P.O. Box 604, Walkertown, North Carolina 27051. I want you to get a copy of my book, For the Cause, Spiritual Revival in America. For $10, check or money order. For $10, check or money order. You can get a copy of my book, For the Cause. I will include shipping in that. P.O. Box 604, Walkertown, North Carolina 27051. It's Derek Henson, the Crossbanner Heritage Institute. And this broadcast can be seen on YouTube. I want you to go away knowing today that being inside of that mother's womb that is being aborted, that is being murdered, it is a living human being. And if we're not in arms today about the barbarism that's being committed at Planned Parenthood across this country, then we'll never be angry about anything. Are we going to be barbarians, or are we going to be a civilized society? Until next time, this has been Derek Henson.